What's up, y'all? It's Tommy here with Everyday Finance. Today I wanted to talk about a quick video here while I'm actually was on a little walk. Figured I'd stop and shoot a video too here. Today I'm going to be talking about, 4 reasons that I've kind of thought about that are reasons why people actually struggle with their finances. Okay, so that's something that interests you. Be sure that you actually stay tuned. Now, obviously, there's going to be extreme cases where not all of these are going to apply to everybody. I don't want people to think I'm talking in generality, right? And there's going to be situations where I'd probably say it applies for 95% of people, but there's going to be a small minority. I'd probably say even 98%, right? Be a small minority of people who are there in situations where they're not able to get past these certain hurdles that I'm going to touch on, okay? But I think for the vast majority of people, these are things that I look at like roadblocks, things that could be speed bumps, but they're typically roadblocks that end up slowing you down when you're trying to achieve whatever you're looking to achieve. And probably the first thing I would touch on is going to be lack of, understanding when it comes to budgeting or even just financial knowledge in general. Because if you think about it, like they don't really teach you that stuff nowadays, right? Or probably ever. When you go to class, it's kind of like on you to figure out managing your finances. When you go to class, they don't ever teach you. There's not like at least from what I've seen, a personal finance class where it really breaks it down and makes sure that you're understanding how all those different aspects of your life actually work, right? And I think that's probably one of the biggest factors. Even myself, like I was a finance major in college and I still was failing when it came to personal finance, right? We learn things more so corporate, but you're not really learning anything when it comes to actually managing your finances, your personal finances day to day, right? And whenever I look at kind of like when I talk about the little finances, I'm thinking more so like probably the easiest example is going to be things like I've seen people who they want to invest in the stock market, right? Which is good. I think that's a good thing to do, right? You want to be investing so eventually you don't have to work the rest of your life. But it'll be someone you'll invest in the stock market, but you have credit card debt. See, that's where it doesn't make sense because you're never going to get a return that's higher. I mean, you might some years, but typically your return is not going to be as high as your credit card debt, right? And so you're kind of digging yourself really deeper in a hole. And I think that's just one example, right? And I think little things like that is just, things we're not taught. You're not really managing, you don't understand the basic fundamentals of personal finance. And that's something that could really hurt you in the long run. And especially the way, just investing or building for your future works, that's something that it's a little mistake that can have like compounding effects and really hurt you in the long run. The next thing I'd say is going to be living beyond your means. Like this is something that I think I probably did a little bit in the past. I have friends, family that, do it a lot more than me and do it to this day, right? And just living beyond your means. There's this thing that they talk about called the golden handcuffs. And it's a situation where, people have this mindset that, they just, as their income increases, then they're going to be better off. But there's people who have golden handcuffs to where they're working a job and they can't ever leave that job, even though it's a high paying job. And it's because of their lifestyle, right? Another word for it is lifestyle creep. And what that means is as your income increases, so does what you're doing, or so does the cost of living your life. So, you get a promotion at work. Next thing you know, you're looking at, nicer cars to get. You're like, I could probably get this other car. I can probably get this car. And then after that, maybe your income increases again. And now you're looking at getting a bigger house or moving into a better neighborhood, things like that, which is reasonable to a certain degree. But it's also like you want to make sure that you're not doing it. You're not in a situation where you're doing that and putting yourself in a bind in terms of like not investing for your future, right? People like to look at their house as an investment, right? And it is to a certain degree, but I'd say that you want to, one, you want to be diversified, but two, you want to be, I kind of look at other aspects, right? Like if you own your primary residence, I think that's a good route to go, but it's also that, why not look into investment properties, things that are going to be able to pay you, right? Once you get to a point where you want to retire, right? Building those assets up. And that's why I always mention the stock market, because it's typically easier for people, right? It's a lot easier for people to jump into the market rather than getting into things like real estate, which can be a little more complex depending what market you're in, things like that. Now, point number 3 is going to be not focusing on your financial growth. Now, that's something else that I notice is pretty big is like you are kind of living in the moment, right? A lot of us do that. I was even doing it at one point. And I think what really got me is, when I was actually working at a brokerage firm and I started talking with people who they had done what I was really doing at that time, right? Which kind of just living in the moment, just spending money however. And they were telling me, like, I might talk to a lady, she was 75 years old, and she might have, let's say, $50,000 in her account. And me just graduating, I was thinking, oh, okay, that seems like a good amount. And, when I talk with her about her finances and things like that, she would tell me, like, that's pretty much all she had, right? And that she was actually talking to me, calling me from her lunch break, and that she would be probably working for the rest of her life. Yeah. And so that really hit me, right? It really hit me and made me realize that I need to start looking at my financial future today, right? ASAP. And not be in a situation where I keep pushing it off so much that by the time I look up, I'm already, 65 trying to retire, and I'm realizing that it's not a possibility for me anymore. So people typically think that they need to be making more money, but that's really not the case. I shot a video and I'll link to it down below. It was titled something like, I think it was is $1 million enough for retirement, right? So like people aim for the $1 million, and is that enough for you to be able to retire the way you want to retire, right? And that video kind of breaks down the thought process behind deciding or understanding how much money you need to retire. So check that out. I'll link to it down below. And another point that I kind of wrote down here is not having clear goals, right? What do you want your future to look like? That's kind of something you got to think about. Do you want your future to be, do you see yourself living in the same neighborhood you are now? Do you want yourself living in another location, another country? I've seen people who moved from the United States to Mexico, right? Because the cost of living is a lot lower, and they can live for, let's say, $500 a month, right? And so I think that's the big thing is, like, you kind of have to have clear goals. You got to kind of decide what your future is going to look like and who it's going to look like, or like who it's going to involve, right? Are you retiring? Do you have a significant other you're going to retire with? Whatever it could be, you kind of have to decide that and figure out what's the best route for you to go in that sense, right? And now I think the last thing that I see people typically struggle with money on is, inheriting somebody else's mindset, right? And I think this one was big for me, right? Kind of seeing people around me growing up, people were just kind of winging it. They didn't really have like a set game plan. You can talk to someone as they're saying, like, I'm doing this with my finances because it's going to help me reach X, Y, Z goal, right? And because it was in that kind of situation, people just kind of assuming that it was all going to be worked out. And I think kind of a part of it, I don't know, everyone's situation is different. I kind of look at it as like, I don't know if I've mentioned it. I probably shot some other videos where I kind of touched on it, but my family comes from like a third world country, right? We're Congolese, so we're from the Democratic Republic of Congo and immigrated here. So I'm a first generation college student, all that stuff, right? And so I kind of look at the mindsets of people who I know whose family had moved over around the same times as me, and, kind of how our parents think, things like that. And I kind of see it's like a different mentality. And it wasn't really till I kind of graduated high school and started seeing how other people are living that I realized, like, there's kind of a different route that you want to take in life, right? And so that's kind of something that, I always try to touch on is my philosophy nowadays is kind of like, if I see someone else do something, then I'm assuming I can do it too, right? And I think that's a good philosophy to have. It's like, don't look around at your situation and what you see at your situation and how you see other people around you, right? You want to look and see outside of where you are at how people are succeeding, and then just replicate it, right? It's not about you making something new. People are investing in the stock market. Figure out what's working. The stuff that looks boring, that everyone's been doing, has been doing it from time, time and time again, has always held true and has worked year after year after year, and do that. The issue comes in is like people you want to chase the shiny object, right? And you see something that looks like it can get you rich quick, and then it typically doesn't work out for that. But the thing is, you only hear the good stories. You never hear the people who say, yeah, I put my money in that thing and I lost $10,000 or I lost however much money, right? So that's something that you always want to just kind of keep in the back of your mind. And that's pretty much the gist of this video, guys. I kind of want to just touch on a few different things that I think, a couple reasons I think people struggle with their finances and managing their money, okay? And I think if you can just, change those 4 things, or really, focus on those 4 things in your life, you're going to see a huge impact in where you are now to where you end up once you've made those changes, okay? So that's going to be the gist of this video, guys. I'm going to link to a few other resources down below. Check in the description for other videos I think can also help you when it comes to that aspect. If there's any other videos that you'd be interested in hearing me talk about, or whether it's involving investing, budgeting, even credit. And I have a lot of credit videos out there as well that you can check out. But just throw it down in the comments down below so I can take a look at it and get you guys, shoot those videos for you guys. Alrighty. So that's gonna be the gist of this video, guys. Make sure you like it if you found value in this video, so I know I'm on the right path. And also make sure you hit that subscribe button down below so you don't miss any of my future videos. Alrighty. So that's gonna be it for this video, guys. I'll see you at the next one. Peace.